After a certain number of years, our faces become our biographies. Open Words by Cynthia Ozick. Welcome everybody, good morning on this beautiful summer day. I don't want to jinx it. Summer day as maybe. It's really lovely to see you all, and welcome to anybody who's new to this church this morning. Welcome to Brighton Unitarians. We will sing, we will have some stories, we will have some moments of reflection. This morning we're actually going to look at some amazing images also. If you're new, we just welcome you, bring your open mind, bring your whole selves, and a warm welcome to everybody here, whether you've been coming for years or you're popping in, or I know some people are in transit back to the southwest, so it's lovely to have you here. And welcome to all of you online this morning. We begin our service by lighting our chalice. To face the world's shadows, a chalice of light. To face the world's troubles, a chalice of warmth. To face the world's difficulties, a chalice of courage. To face the world's turmoil, a chalice of peace. May the glow from this chalice fill our spirits and our hearts and our lives. We're created in the image of love. Wherever we come from, wherever we're going, whoever we are, whomever we love, we proclaim with love on our side. Our bodies are sacred, our minds are blessed, our spirits are beloved. May we be open to receive more love, always more love. So before we begin to sing our first hymn together, I forgot to introduce myself. I know most of you do know me, but those of you who don't, I'm Jennifer. I'm the minister here at Brighton Unitarian Church. So that's who I am. And I'm looking forward to getting to know those of you who are new. After the service today, we're doing something slightly different. So we're having a community lunch. All of you are welcome to stay. Don't worry if you've not brought anything. Normally, there's a plethora of joy and wonderment of food. So you're welcome to join us with that. And also, we're going to have just a congregational conversation about a couple of things. We've got a big ordination extravaganza happening in September, so we're going to have a chat about that and just connect as a congregation outside of our worship this morning. So yeah, you're welcome to stay for that. But let's begin by singing our first hymn this morning, number 43 in the Purple Book. Could we have a couple of windows open? Oh, they are open. Okay. Okay. We have a couple of readings. The theme for the service, for those of you who knew, some you won't know that because you wouldn't have received the email, but it's about our faces. So that's what we're going to be talking about today, is our faces. The first reading is from Peter, verse 3:3-4. Your beauty should not come from outward adornments, such as braided hair and the wearing of gold jewelry and fine clothes. Instead, it should be that your inner self, the unfading beauty of a gentle and quiet spirit, which is of great worth in God's sight. If you hear the word God in this service this morning, and that feels a little bit difficult for you, please replace it with the mystery, the divine, the I don't know what that is, whatever makes you feel comfortable. We have a poem now by Dustin Down, and it's called Faces Back Then. Mike is very happy to read it, despite only just being given it a few moments ago. So thank you, Mike.
Okay. Yeah, this is nice. Faces Back Then, a poem by Dustin Down. We don't understand faces any longer. We don't understand attraction. Time was back then when life was harsh. Physically, it took a toll. You were out there in it, meshing with it. The cold hurt. Too much smoothness frightened us, but a rough, worn face, a face that could take it all in and keep it, then still move on, that was a face that reassured. So back then, everyone wanted a face like that. Now the biggest concern is knowing when and how to smile, so as not to show you're so dumb, and that older face has gone out of style. Everyone's afraid they don't quite fit in, and it shows in their faces.
Thank you, Michael. We come to our second hymn this morning, and that is in the Green Book, and it's number 33. We've just been playing in the back. We have two new little visitors today, Thea and Kyra. Good morning to you both. And as we were sorting out the box of lovely things for the children, this is who I found. It's a really well-known, well, I think it's probably quite well-known Peppa. I don't know if it is Peppa Pig or if it's one of them, but anyway, that's a really good face. So we're going to have this one as part of the service this morning. And I'm hoping that Thea and Kaya might do a little bit of drawing as part of our service this morning. Quite well known that our posture and our facial expressions do reveal how we feel, but they can also influence how we feel. So when we smile, even if it's forced, we can sometimes feel a little bit lighter. But if we tense our brows, right between your eyebrows, I don't know about you, but I've got this line going on. It suddenly appeared overnight a few years ago and it's not gone since. And it's that sense when we concentrate and it pervades what's going on with us, whether it's a negative emotion or we're concentrating or we're worrying. I remember waking up one day and this appeared magically overnight. And I was like, what's this? Where did this come from? Apparently, people who have Botox feel less negative emotions because this particular part is completely paralyzed. I'm not advising that you have Botox as a cure to your tension. And I have no experience of having it. I did actually ask a friend of mine who does have it, and I said, is that true? And she went, well, maybe externally I look more serene, but it doesn't actually change my tension underneath. I think there's much more, less cheaper, less more expensive ways. There are less extreme and cheaper ways, to release the stress in our faces that we carry. And one of those is prayer and meditation. So we're in the right place this morning. Let's see if we can release some of the worry and the stress in our faces. So the myriad of muscles that make up our face, they help to give us expressions and our moods. We laugh, we frown, we growl, we get quite angry. They're all ways that we can convey what we're thinking to other people or even to ourselves. I don't know if any of you have heard about resting stress face. Anyway, what happens when you Google when you've got nothing better to do with your life. And apparently this is a new phenomenon that's happened after COVID. It's apparently because we spent so much time, of course, quite stressed, that is now occurring in our faces. And it's our facial muscles that contract and we purvey that stress that's written in our faces. And it's that whole thing of that constant feeling of being in fight or flight. It's almost as though we're wearing our stress on here. I don't know if any of you have experienced it, but I know people say to me every now and again, they say, you look really serious. And I'm like, oh, I didn't even know that that's what I was purveying. I was probably thinking about something and I'm a bit like that. So sometimes we don't even know what we're sending out signals into the world with the faces that we have. But apparently, yes, this resting stress face is the result of how we live in our world, or if we spend long periods of time squinting at a computer or scrolling into our phones. We had this service a couple of weeks ago where we were looking at the soul, and we all dumped our phones on a central part, and it was that sense of actually being free from that electronic things, those devices that we use. And Yeah, so we were looking at the soul, now we're looking at our face, and it's like, how can we give our little faces more love, and not be so stressed? So we're going to do a little exercise about looking after our faces. It's a bit left of field for a church service on a Sunday morning, but you know me, I love a little bit of an experiment. So you can use it as a period of reflection, but let's join together and let's see if we can relax our beautiful faces. I'm not going to take a picture of you while you're doing it, so you can make whatever facial expressions you like. I will be making them and you can laugh at mine. But yeah, get yourself into a relaxed situation in your chair if you can. Just take a moment to observe how your body as a whole is this morning. You may be feeling quite relaxed. You may have had a lovely journey here. You may have just come back from holiday and have a mountain of washing to manage, or who knows? Or you might be feeling a little bit anxious because this is your first time here. If it's comfortable for you to close your eyes, please do so. If not, just take a soft gaze. You don't need to sit down. If it's easier for you to wander around in a service, please feel free to do that as well. But just take a couple of breaths. Just notice how the air is coming in and out of your body. No need to change it, but you might just see where you might be taking shallow breaths or deeper breaths. Just come into the focus of your body. And we're going to try to consciously relax our face with each of our exhalation, moving just through all the parts of our faces. So I'll take you through. All you need to do is just take your attention to the parts of the face that I'm referring to. So let's start with the top of our head, whether we have hair or not have hair, or a little bit in between. Just imagine us breathing in between the space between our hair and the skin. And just breathe into the top of our scalp. If it's easier for you to touch the parts that I'm talking about, I'm doing that because it's easier for me to connect. And as you exhale, just allow the surface of the scalp just to really try to relax. It sounds a bit weird. How can we possibly relax our scalp? But we're going to try and go for it. And then we move to our forehead. You may be very lucky and have no lines there, or you might be like me and have lots of wrinkles. And we just take your attention to your forehead, and then just allow, on the out-breath, allow those wrinkles or frowns or concerns just to dissolve, to disappear. And then we move to our eyes and eyebrows. You can raise and stretch your eyebrows. For those of you who are watching online, you can either watch us and laugh, or you only can see me, so you can either watch and laugh at me, or you can do it with us. So just raise your eyebrows, twitch them, move them around, move your eyes around, and then allow them to come into some form of resting space. And as you breathe out, just allow the softness to come into your eye sockets. And then we move to our cheeks and our jaw. Often we hold quite a lot of tension in our jaws. And again, move them around. You might open your jaw widely, and then you might end up starting to yawn and stretch. Ooh. And then just allow, in the out-breath, allow the relaxation to come through your jaw and your cheeks. And we do the same with our nose. We can do that twitchy thing up and down. I can't remember, there was a little magical woman who used to twitch her nose, and she used to be, can't remember her name now, something witch, can't remember. Thank you. Brilliant. So twitch your nose, you never know, magic might happen. And then on the out breath, just allow all those muscles in your nose and your nasal cavity to relax. And then through to our chin and our mouth and our tongue. Again, just move it around. Difficult to lead you in a meditation and do it at the same time. And on the out breath, just allow that to relax. Don't forget the back of your head as well. We forget, lots of people they see our faces, but they also see the back of our heads. So take our attention down to the back of the skull and into the neck. And again, when you release a breath, just allow some of that tension to fall away. And then we take our face as a whole. As we breathe in, we bring that softness in to the whole of our face. As we breathe out, we let go anything that we hold. Try not to make any judgment about our faces. And then finally, we allow ourselves to have a smile. So whether we feel it or not, just allow the corners of our mouth to turn upwards and to just smile for a moment. And we're just going to spend a few short moments just with ourselves in this space, really of gratitude of what our face gives us, what it brings us. It's an extraordinary thing that we have, and it may not be perfect, whatever perfect it is, but let's just sit in stillness together just for a few moments in gratitude for all that our faces gives us. I'm going to bring you all back a little bit. I think some of you have drifted off into another parallel universe. I sent an email out a few days ago asking you to bring an image of yourself. So if you have one, if you could bring it out now. If you don't have one, it really doesn't matter, because we can do it without. So for those of you who do have an image of yourself, I invite you just to spend a few moments We've just got a little one. Come on in. Hello, good morning. Hi. Do you know who this is? Who's that? Is it Peppa Pig? Is it? Can you look after it for me? Thank God for children's boxes of stuff. Phew. Where were we? Oh, yes, picture. So if you have a picture, take it out. And if you don't have a picture, then what I'd like you to do is just imagine your face as it is now, today. Hopefully you can imagine it a bit more rested after we've done that exercise. And just take a few moments to look at that image or think about that image, and try not to have any judgment. You might go, oh God, it's this, and oh, and I haven't done that, and oh, I've got these wrinkles, oh, I don't know. Just take a moment. Just going to all take a moment together, just to either look at our picture or think of our picture, and just see what comes up for you. So we're just going to take a couple of moments to do that. Notice the things that come to the surface, whether you're thinking about your face or whether you're looking at your face in an image. See the things that you're drawn to. And especially if you don't have an image, just notice the blank spots that you see. Oh, I'm not sure. Do I have any wrinkles there or not? The most important thing is to try to do it without any judgment at all. And now I would like you to turn to the person nearest to you. If you have an image, if you each have an image, then swap them. If you don't, then just take a look at the person that's in front of you. And I just want you for a moment to really take notice of who it is, the face that you're looking at, whether you're looking at the image or looking at them in real time, and just spend a couple of moments just chatting about that. Is it uncomfortable? What came up for you in terms of looking at your face? If there's anyone, and if you don't want to do it, it's really fine. Anything in this church is voluntary. So if you would rather sit this one out, that's fine. Is there anyone that doesn't have a connection? Anybody? I'm going to bring you back. Come back, everyone. Sometimes what happens is when we do these exercises, sometimes people don't speak at all, or they speak for a long time, and then I can't bring you back. I hope that was an interesting exercise to do. And yeah, there's a little nod. That's great. Before we carry on, I did promise that I would show the pictures that have already been done this morning. I would agree that these are quite supersonic, to be fair. If I had a gallery, I could actually. This is particularly one of my favourites. This, I think, is more of like a frowning moment, maybe. This might be general discombobulation. But I'll find out after the service what they all mean. Thank you, everyone, for the pictures. The amount of time we spend in front of the mirror can vary. Maybe it's a quick check to make sure your hair is not sticking up funny, nothing is stuck in your teeth before you head off. Maybe you're trimming your beard. Maybe you put a whole face on in the morning. Either way, and whatever we do, or you might be like me, who just does a cursory glance as she's running out of the door. When we do those things, it's a little bit different. We're looking at our face. Are we okay to go out into the world? We're taking time, really, to study what other people might see. And then we do lots of things, perhaps after we've looked in the mirror, to change the way that we look. Whether they're adornments of earrings or nose rings or whatever, or tattoos. We may grow beards or moustaches. We may have our hair cut really short. We might dye our hair. We might do some things which maybe seem more radical, of having body sort of more, things in our bodies, put things under our skin, change the way our ears are. We've probably all done things to our faces at some time or another to change the form. Even if we don't even dye our hair and we just let it grow, we're still making some form of decision and choice as to how we look. For some of us, that's really important. Some wear glasses, some don't. Some have fake tan. But we are making a statement to the rest of the world, because most of the time we don't see ourselves. I go to a spiritual meeting most weeks, and a friend of mine who's going through quite a difficult situation with her husband, who's very, very ill, she appeared at this meeting last week, and she looked completely different because she didn't have what I would say her face on. And suddenly I could really see who she was in all her vulnerability. It reminded me of those images of Catherine, Princess of Wales. Oops, is it Princess of Wales? No, are they? It is, isn't it? Yeah. When she did that video, when she was diagnosed with cancer and she had no face on, and we saw her as she is. And there was a real vulnerability about her image. She hadn't been pressed and coiffured and straightened and twiddled, and it was just her. She wasn't covered by the perfection of makeup. It was a truer version, maybe, of her. A couple of weeks ago, we were talking about the soul. And how if we could have X-ray vision, we could see into the soul and what people would really see. And in a way, it's the same about our faces. What do other people see, and what is it that we're trying to convey? When I was training to be an interfaith minister, and we did a lot of experiments. And we did this exercise where you would sit face to face with each other, and for a long time, not just for a couple of minutes, for half an hour at a time. And the phrase that we would repeat is, "I see you. I see you." And then we would extend, "I see you in the image of God," whatever God means to you. And the first few moments were very uncomfortable. We would be laughing and squealing and looking away and, "Oh, hang on a minute, I just need to change my face and make it presentable." And then we sort of got into it and got into the curiosity of looking at someone's face and going, "God, I never knew you had blue eyes." "Oh, I never realized that actually you have one eyebrow higher than the other." It became a sort of exercise in what you could find. And then it dropped into, you were really seeing this person. All the tattoos, the intricacies fell away, and you were left seeing this person, their beauty, their vulnerability, because there was no escape. You could look away, but you look back and there they were again. And there you were again. And I remember doing this with somebody who I found particularly difficult. We just didn't meet, in our beliefs and anything really. And yet that process of looking and being brought such a depth of connection. We both cried. Because when you take all the adornment away, you just see a face of beauty. Sam Taylor-Wood, who's a video artist and director, created a piece some years ago. Some of you might know it. It was in the National Portrait Gallery of David Beckham. And she was commissioned to show a portrait of someone who was so incredibly famous. Everybody knows David Beckham. If you don't know him, he was a footballer, and a quite handsome footballer at that, apparently. And she took a video of him sleeping. And I mean, of course, it's hours and hours and hours and hours long. It was edited, but I think the whole video is probably like 3 or 4 hours. And you could go into this room, nothing else was there, it was just a flat screen of him sleeping. And it was mainly just of his face. And it was extraordinary. I found myself being totally transfixed, watching somebody sleep. It's a very intimate thing, isn't it, when we're asleep? I don't know if you've ever had a partner and you wake up and they're looking at you. You know, it's that sense of beauty and love. And we're probably at our most vulnerable. And then there's another artist called Bill Viola. He's a videographer. He takes a lot of films, turns them up, changes their speed, but he does a lot around people and around people being in sort of stages of flux, especially in their emotions. And there's 6 people, all of them different, on screens, all shown at the same time, and they're crying. And again, you watch them and you think, well, that's obviously staged. They've chopped onions, or they're actors. And actually, none of them were actors. But the whole process behind it was getting to know these people, spending time with them, listening to their stories, and then filming them as they shared these stories, these painful stories. And again, it was that you see the grace of somebody when they are at their most vulnerable. When I heard about the death of Grace, one of our long-standing members of this church and the oldest member of our church, she died this year, she was 103. And as I've spoken to some of you during the week, you talked about the memories that you had of her, but also the amazing way of how she presented herself and how she dressed. And that sort of brought her almost alive again. But I couldn't remember how she really looked. And her daughter sent an image, which I think has gone out to some of you. And when I looked at her face, it was like, oh yes, there's Grace. There she is. There's her story on her face. Extraordinary woman. Very few wrinkles, actually, for 103. I'm like, how do you do that? How did you reach to be such beauty at that age? You know, we spend time putting members of our family, maybe our loved ones, our children, or people that we love, they are on our mantelpiece, aren't they? Take another look when you go home. They're often images that are there and are just there, but we don't often take the time to look at them. If we take that moment to be with somebody, to look into their face, we see God. But sometimes it takes more than a moment. There may be faces that we find uncomfortable. Their adornments, their age. But how would it be if we saw God and the grace in all of those faces? It's interesting that William Shakespeare said, God has given you one face and you make yourself another. How true is that? Don't like this one. Move on. It's an interesting concept. Whether we believe in God, grace, whatever we want to call it, How often do we spend that time with somebody, looking at them, being with them, being curious about them, just looking at their face? Half the time, we're thinking about a whole set of other things that are going on in our mind, or we might also be doing that scrolly thing whilst we're talking to them. We don't have to do that intensive exercise. Hello, just going to look at your face for a while. We might need to know people a little bit more before we do something like that. But it's also about the relationship that we have with our own face, our relationship with the God of our understanding. In your conversations together, who knows? I'd be really interested to hear what you had to share with each other at another time. But that sense of, oh yeah, someone's got a scar, that tells a story. Someone wears a specific glasses, that tells a story. A woman called Onyinye Udabani survived a car accident in 2018 which severely disfigured her face. The word disfigured is an interesting concept in itself because it's like, well, but it changed her looks and the course of her life. She was asleep in a car and there was an accident, and when she woke up, her whole life had changed. And she is one of many people who've had their faces changed by accidents, by war, by acid attacks, by attempted suicides. She made a decision to have reconstruction, but she got to a certain point when she realized that no more reconstruction would bring her old face back. And now she lives with that story on her face. She was born and raised in Nigeria. And in the tribe that she was born, people have a name by which they were known. Her name is Changing Faces. She talks about the inner beauty shining through her face. And she talks about the difficulties of having a changed face, one that people feel at times uncomfortable with, or will ask her. She can't just pass along in the street. Somebody will always go, what happened? Or she knows they want to ask, but they're not, because they feel embarrassed or uncomfortable. But what she does talk about is getting to know her face. As she had the operations and her landscape changed, she spent time with a mirror. Because she said, if I cannot come to terms with the way that my face is, how can I even begin to hope that other people will come to terms and accept me for who I am? So I invite you in the next days, weeks. It sounds like I'm giving you more homework to do. We had the soul homework. It was like, turn your phone off and spend a bit more time with Spirit. But I invite you in the coming days and weeks to spend a little bit of time with yourself. Spend a little bit of time looking at yourself in the mirror. You will have all of that stuff of, God, I look old. How did that happen? Well, you might. If you don't, tell me how you don't have that, because that's what I see when I look at myself in the mirror. And I did the exercise this morning, and there's this whole tirade. And it was like, oh, God, okay. Can we go to the next level? And then it was like, oh, actually, you're all right. You're okay. Maybe I need... No, you're okay. Make friends. Make friends with this. It's a beautiful thing. And I imagine that the conversations you had together, what other people were saying about you, were far more beautiful than what you say about yourself. I've lost my track slightly because I've gone off piste slightly. Bear with me. It's an opportunity. It's an opportunity for us to get to know ourselves better, but more than that, it's an opportunity to get to know the God of our understanding. Because the grace and beauty that we hold within comes through this. We're going to sing our last hymn together. During that hymn, we will take the collection. Just to remind people that Unitarian churches are slightly different from other churches. So we don't have a head place that gives us money. We're all autonomous. Every Unitarian church that you'll go into is all autonomous. So we look after ourselves. And part of looking after ourselves is making sure we have enough funds to do so. So if you have, please put it in the little pouch. If you want to do it by mobile phone, sum up, we have that, and you can do that after the service. And if you don't, then hold the pouch and put a smile into it. That's what I suggest. So let's sing together while we do the collection. Thank you, Stuart. Number 193 in the purple. We'll sing verses 1 and 2 because we're running a bit short time. So 1 and 2. We're going right off piece now. We're going to finish the service in a slightly different way, but quite a lovely way. So we've had some very industrious drawers going on in the church during our service. So they are going to, some of them are going to come and show what they've drawn. So not only do we get to see the pictures, we get to see these beautiful, young faces. This is Thea, and this is what morning. Can we hold it up really high? That's it. Oh! And what's your name?
Yoko.
Yoko. We're not sure what our name is, but we have made an amazing picture. Okay, hold it up really high. And we've got dinosaurs. Hey, and you've got Peppa Pig. Should we put up Peppa Pig? Do you want it back? Yeah. That's a bit mean. Amen. There we go.